Shabbat Shalom. First and foremost, I have to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushai, Ba'Shem Kadash. Give honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone for teaching us His truth. Citations to the sincere Akim and Akkad that may listen. May the blessing of election be upon your house. My name is Brother Okwai. I'm back in here with another quick and Lord willing Yahweh Ratazah an edifying lesson. And today's lesson is going to be, I'm just going to be going through a brief account of the poor widow that is spoken of in Mark chapter 12. And what inspired this lesson was quickly these other camps, I believe it was IUIC, and they had spoken, calling the apostles and, GMS, bums essentially, right? Because they're poor. Slakia, because they're poor and they, we don't have the most flashy garments and so on and so forth. And I just want to touch on a couple things in regards to all of this, right? And Yahweh Ratazah, this be an edifying lesson, right? So in regards to, these camps calling GMS bums, there's as a matter of fact, let me just open up with this scripture. Because, and I remember there was a brother, and I did some research on this too. The IUIC especially has a net worth. I believe it was him or Nate. They have a net worth of about $150 million, right? So that's a lot of money, right? And for them to say that is that's a cheap shot, and that's very low, right? So I just wanted to get a couple scriptures on that and show the mentality of these people and contrast it between them and the widow, the poor widow, right? So okay, this is Sirach chapter 10 verse 12, and it reads the following: the beginning of pride is when one departeth from Yahweh, and his heart is turned away from his maker. For pride is the beginning of sin, and he that hath it shall pour out abomination. Therefore, the Lord Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushai, brought them strange calamities and overthrew them utterly. The Lord Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushai, hath cast down thrones, proud princes, and set up the meek in their stead, right? So that is a mentality that the Most High does not like, that pride, right? And one of the things that makes these other camps very, very prideful is the fact that they have a lot of like a huge following. They have very flashy garments. They're able to generate lots of money. And so on and so forth. Especially this issue of money that keeps coming up. That's where they keep, trying to essentially tear down the reputation of our apostles and elders, right? Right, and it just goes to show the kind of character that they're displaying, right? And one of the other things as well I wanted to touch upon, not just the fact that they're very, very prideful. As a matter of fact, there's this other scripture I found earlier today. I wanted to bring this out. This is in Proverbs. Okay. As a matter of fact, let's get it in the NLT as well, just to shed some light. I want to touch on a couple things. Okay, so this is Proverbs. Because they call them GMS bums and they call the apostles bums. So this is Proverbs chapter 17 verse 5, and in the KJV it says, Whoso mocketh the poor reproacheth his maker, and he that is glad at calamities shall not be unpunished. In NLT it says the following: those who mock the poor insult their maker. Whoso rejoice at his misfortune of others will be punished, right? So let's get that word Salakia, reproach. Okay, rebuke, blame, censor, object of scorn or contempt, disgrace or state of disgrace, right? So, you know, in the KJV it says that whoso mocketh the poor reproacheth his maker, right? So you're seen as disgracing his maker, and that is the mentality of what this other camp is doing to our apostles and elders, right? They're the ox that's treading off the corn, that it says in, I believe in First Timothy, right? So why would you try to muzzle the ox that's treading off the corn, right? And giving us this wisdom and knowledge and understanding, right? That our people need, right? And our people in need of this wisdom, right? But only the elect are going to receive it, right? So it just shows the character, between them, being very, very prideful, and throwing a bunch of ad hominems, right? Which is like it's a fallacy for somebody who actually, you know, they don't attack the arguments of what the apostles were saying. They attack them, they attack their appearance essentially. You know, instead of attacking an argument, essentially you attack the how the person looks. This person's nose is too big, like things like that. That's like an example of an ad hominem, right? Okay, so, and one of the other points I wanted to bring out as well is that the Yahweh Bashim Yahushai has a track record of dealing with lowly men, right? Not people who are very, very broad and tall in stature, even though Saul was described that way, but people who are very meek and lowly, right? Let's get First Corinthians. Okay, this is First Corinthians chapter 1, verse 25, and it reads, "Because the foolishness of Yahweh is wiser than men, and the weakness of Yahweh is stronger than men. For ye see your calling, brethren, how that not many wise men after the flesh, not many mighty, not many noble are called." Verse 27, "But Yahweh hath chosen the foolish things of the world to confound the wise. Yahweh hath chosen the weak things of the world to confound the mighty. The base things of the world and the things which are despised hath Yahweh chosen, yea, the things which are not, to bring to naught things that are," right? So he's just showing the things that are the way that Yahweh chooses, right? When Yahweh came onto for example, Gideon in the time of Judges, he was a lowly man, a poorly man in the low of his father's house, right? To paraphrase the scripture, right? So the Most High isn't dealing with you know uh, um, you know these mighty men, these Jay-Z's, and these camps, for example, that dwell and ride upon these majestic horses with the very, very flashy garments, right? If you have a nice garment, that's you have a nice garment, but it's easy to put on a nice garment and forget about the character and neglect the character of Yahweh Shai and the things that he exemplified and the things that our forefathers exemplified, right? Okay, so let's jump to the next point I wanted to make, is in regard to the mentality of this woman, right? So let's go to Mark. Okay, so here it says Mark chapter 12, verse 41, and it reads, I'm going to read it in the NLT, and it says the following: Yahushua sat down near the collection box in the temple and watched as the crowds dropped in their money. Many rich people put in large amounts. Verse 42, it says, Then the poor widow came and dropped in 2 small coins. I want to read this in the KJV because I wanted to bring out some more edification in regards to this verse here. And there came a certain poor widow, and she threw in 2 mites, and which make a farthing. Verse 43, And he called unto them his disciples, and saith unto them, Verily I say unto you, that this poor widow hath cast more in than all they which have cast in the treasury. In the NLT it says, I tell you the truth, this poor widow has given more than all the others who make contributions, right? So you could see the complete contrast, between, these camps that, they can't even be bothered, they're so busy trying to ridicule, the apostles, but then, they don't actually try to, actually help their congregation, whether it's, through financial means and so on and so forth, right? To my limited knowledge, right? And and one of the things too as well I wanted to also bring out is the fact that they constantly brag upon the law, the law, right? So for the sake of this lesson as well, let's get the law, right? So I want to come back to this account. Just bear with me 1 second. Okay, this is Leviticus chapter 25, verse 35. If one of your fellow Israelite falls into poverty and cannot support himself, support him as you would for a support him as you would a foreigner or a temporary resident, and allow him to live with you, right? So that's a practice that's actually in the law, right? But with $150 million, you're saying you can't actually make even a small donation, right? If it's something that bothers you and you like to brag about the law, this is in the law, right? This is part of our customs, our culture, right? But anyways, let me just go back to the account with the widow. Okay, and this is the last verse. Mark chapter 12, verse 44. And it reads, For they gave a tiny part of their surplus, but she, poor as she is, has given everything she had to live on, right? So just showing the major contrast between these other camps that have all of this following, all this money, versus this woman. This woman gave all that she actually had. Now, what I wanted to do quickly for edification, so when we go up to verse 40, let's see, verse 42, it says that she threw in 2 mites and a farthing, right? So what I have here is my Bible dictionary. So this is Zondervan's Bible dictionary, right? Okay, I just want to read the quick definition for what a mite is. Just bear with me 1 second. Okay, so here it says mite. This is page 372 in the Bible dictionary, and it says, during pre-Roman times, under the Maccabees from 175 to 140 BC, the Jews for the first time, were allowed to issue money of their own. One piece was the lepton, and it's spelled Lepton, a tiny bronze or copper. Let's, one second. So a tiny bronze or copper coin, which we know as the widow's mite, right? And that's the same account I'm reading right now, right? The lepton was translated as the word mite, as we see in Mark 12, because it was the coin of least value among coins. Even the metal was inferior and deteriorated easily. The coin should really be the penny of the Bible, not the denarius, right? So that's it's actually the one of the coins of actually the least value, and it says that the metal was actually very inferior. But I believe that the denarius was worth a lot more, right? Because I think before the Caesar, before Nero, it had a high, I believe it was a high percentage of silver in that coin in particular, right? So the denarius, for just for edification, was a coin that was worth a lot more, right? Until what's his name, Nero, until that Rome went through that burning, and a bunch of infrastructure was burned down, and what Nero began to do, he began to actually debase the currency, right? And so debasing the currency just simply means that he began to mix other inferior metals in it, right? So it began to become cheaper, right, as opposed to having a high silver content, right? Just for edification. But back to the point, this two mites that she had was really all that she had. But it just shows and exemplifies the she gave a lot more, right, as opposed to a camp that doesn't want to give as much, right? They're just ridiculing and condemning our apostles and elders, right, for dressing a certain way, as opposed to actually exemplifying those character of Yahushua spoken of, right? Paul spoke about, for example, of charity. As a matter of fact, this is one of my favorite scriptures. I just want to get this one, and then I can close. Right? Let's see. Okay, this is First Corinthians chapter 13, verse 2. If I had the gift of prophecy, and if I understood all of Yahweh's secret plans, and possessed all knowledge, and if I had such faith that I could move mountains, but didn't love others, I would be nothing, right? So Paul is describing in his letters that he would be absolutely nothing, if he didn't exemplify charity. And and that's one of the things that they're lacking, right? This camp is lacking, but they're so busy and caught up in trying to ridicule the apostles, strictly on their appearance, right? But anyways, I'll end this lesson off there. Hopefully this lesson was edifying. I know I kind of jumped around a little bit, but I just want to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bashim Yahweh Shai, Bashim Rakah Kadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone for teaching us his truth. Till next time, I say Shalom.